When we speak about the signs of Dajjal, one of the most important aspects we must reflect upon is the nature of the fitna he will bring, the kind of deception that will shake hearts, confuse minds, and test belief at its core. We're not just talking about an ordinary test. This is a fitna that every prophet warned his people about, a trial so severe that even the most righteous will seek refuge in Allah from it. And the question we must ask ourselves is, why? Why is the emergence of Dajjal considered one of the greatest trials to ever face humanity? It is because his weapon will not be physical force or military strength. Rather, it will be deception. He will manipulate what people see, what they hear, what they believe. He will blur the line between truth and falsehood until those who are weak in faith will begin to question what is real. Imagine a world where miracles are not a sign of righteousness anymore, where the extraordinary no longer leads people to Allah, but instead pulls them away from Him. Imagine a man who is able to control wealth, food, rain, and even the appearance of life and death. People will look at him and say, surely no one can do this except God. And that is where many will fail, not because the truth was hidden, but because they were dazzled by what their eyes perceived instead of what their hearts should have known. The deception of Dajjal will work so effectively because humanity, by that time, will already be spiritually starved. When people are disconnected from the Quran, when Salah becomes a ritual without consciousness, when dunya becomes more beloved than Akhirah, when the heart becomes darkened by sin and ego, then the miraculous becomes a temptation instead of a reminder. A person without strong Imaan is like a leaf in the wind, blown wherever the current takes it. And the current that Dajjal brings will be powerful, seductive, and dangerously convincing. He will come at a time when people are desperate. There will be drought, famine, hunger, economic collapse. Imagine parents who cannot feed their children. Imagine entire communities struggling, desperate for relief. And then emerges a man who offers food, offers water, offers wealth. But in exchange for what? For belief in him, for allegiance, for surrender of the heart. Many will justify it, saying, we have no choice. Allah will forgive us. This is just temporary. But the test of Dajjal is precisely this. The test of standing firm when the world pressures you to bend. The test of choosing faith over comfort. The test of trusting Allah even when the dunya dangles its glitter before your eyes. And this is why the Prophet taught us that the strongest shield against Dajjal is knowledge. Not academic degrees or worldly information, but knowledge of Allah, knowledge of Quran, knowledge of what is true, even if the world calls you foolish. A believer will look at Dajjal and see a liar, no matter how astonishing his acts appear. Because for the believer, truth is not measured by sight, but by conviction. Brothers and sisters, reflect for a moment. If a man came today, performing miracles, healing the sick, stopping drought, making rain fall, giving money to the poor, how many would follow him blindly? How many are already influenced by the illusions of this world? We live in an age where screens shape beliefs, where truth is obscured behind narratives, where what is viral becomes what is believed. If we are so easily swayed today, how will we stand firm tomorrow? If we tremble at the opinions of people, how will we resist the claim of a man who calls himself divine? This is why our preparation does not begin when Dajjal appears. It begins now. It begins with strengthening our connection to Allah, building a heart that can differentiate between the shine of falsehood and the light of truth. It begins with nurturing a faith that remains unshaken even if the entire world stands against it. The coming of Dajjal is not just a sign of the end times, it is a reminder for us to evaluate ourselves. Are we people of conviction or people of convenience? Do we worship Allah out of love and certainty, or because life is comfortable? Every believer must ask themselves this today, while the test is still small, while the choice is still easy. Because when the time comes, only those with steadfast Imaan will be able to see through the illusion and hold firm. The deception of Dajjal will not be powerful because truth disappears, but because falsehood becomes attractive. And so, I remind myself and you, prepare your heart before the trial arrives. Only those who live with Imaan today will stand with truth tomorrow. When we continue discussing the emergence of Dajjal, one of the most striking aspects that our Prophet described for us is his physical appearance and the spiritual signs that accompany him. These descriptions are not given to us merely as details to memorize. They are warnings, guidance, and clarity, so that no believer is left in doubt when he appears. It is a mercy from Allah that the characteristics of this individual are so distinct, so unmistakable, that anyone whose heart is attached to faith will recognize him immediately. Yet, despite these clear signs, many will still follow him, not because they don't know who he is, but because their desires and fears will overshadow the truth they witness with their own eyes. We are told that he will be one-eyed. This alone is symbolic and profound. It reminds us that his vision is incomplete, his perception limited, he is flawed. One of his eyes will be dysfunctional, protruding like a grape, distorted and imperfect. A man claiming divinity, yet physically deficient. If a person reflects sincerely, they would ask, how can someone who is imperfect in body claim perfection in being? Yet many will be blinded by his external displays of power, forgetting that true divinity belongs only to the one who neither slumbers nor sleeps, the one who is perfect in every attribute. The physical one-eyed nature of Dajjal is also a metaphor for spiritual blindness. He sees only the dunya, he offers only dunya, he understands only dunya, there is no light of guidance in him, only deception dressed as relief, and another sign, as we are told, is that on his forehead will be written the word kafir, clear as daylight, readable by every believer whether they can read or not. It is not literacy that reveals the truth, but Imaan. Your degree, status, education will not determine whether you recognize Dajjal. Your heart will. A person who has faith, even weak faith but sincere, will look at him and know instantly, this is the liar, this is the deceiver. Yet the tragedy is that recognition does not guarantee resistance. Many will recognize, but not everyone will resist. Because when hunger grips the stomach, when children cry for food, when society collapses around them, the temptation to compromise will rise. The test is not in seeing the sign, it is in standing firm upon it. Dajjal will not only claim greatness, he will claim lordship, he will demand worship. Think about how extreme this is. A man walking on earth, eating, drinking, breathing the same air as us, claiming that he is God. And people will believe him. Why? Because they have reduced divinity to miracles instead of morality, to spectacle instead of scripture, to power instead of principles. We already live in a time where fame creates authority, where followers create influence, where the loudest voice is assumed to be the correct one. Imagine then a man who controls weather, who can grant wealth, who can appear to give life and take it away. Imagine how the hearts of those unanchored in faith will tremble. The danger of Dajjal is not only what he shows, but what he asks for in return. He will offer the world to you, but the price will be your Akhirah. He will offer comfort, but the cost will be submission, and submission to anyone other than Allah is the greatest loss a human can suffer. The spiritual sign behind all his physical attributes is that everything about him is a test of what you value more, the temporary or the eternal. He will challenge belief not through intellectual argument, but through emotional pressure. He will not say, prove that your God exists. He will say, here is food, here is wealth, here is safety, just accept me. And those whose Imaan is shallow will convince themselves that bending momentarily is harmless, forgetting that a small crack in the dam can ultimately destroy the entire structure. So reflect carefully. If we cannot resist small sins today, how will we resist the greatest fitna tomorrow? If we crumble under societal pressure now, how will we stand firm when the world is at stake? If we chase the dunya endlessly today, how will we turn our backs on it when it is handed to us on a platter? The signs of Dajjal are not merely descriptions. They are a mirror for the state of our hearts. They force us to ask where our loyalty truly lies, with Allah or with comfort, with truth or with convenience. Because when that time comes, the believer who sees truth will not just recognize Dajjal physically, they will reject him spiritually, intellectually, emotionally, even if it costs them everything, and that strength does not appear suddenly. It is cultivated now, through worship, knowledge, remembrance, and commitment to Allah above all else. May Allah make us of those whose eyes see clearly, whose hearts stand firm, and whose faith remains unshaken when falsehood appears dazzling. Only the one who sees with his heart will recognize the T when we talk about the emergence of Dajjal. We must understand that he does not appear suddenly out of nowhere. The world will not be stable and peaceful when he arrives. Rather, the conditions of the earth will prepare minds and hearts for his deception. A society spiritually strong would never fall for him. A world rooted in justice and truth would never accept a liar claiming divinity. The world will be shaken, broken, exhausted, and in that vulnerability he will rise. This is why our tradition teaches us that before his appearance there will be widespread corruption, injustice, and moral decay. Values will flip. Wrong will appear right, and right will appear strange. People will celebrate sin and mock piety. Voices of truth will be silenced, not because truth changed, but because hearts did. Imagine a time where wealth exists, but no barakah remains, where knowledge is available, but wisdom is absent, where mosques are full, yet hearts are empty, where leaders are corrupt, and the oppressed have no refuge. Imagine families breaking apart, trust disappearing from society, betrayal becoming normal, and honesty becoming rare. These are not signs we wait to see, some of them are around us already. When the world gradually distances itself from Allah, it naturally becomes fertile ground for deception. And the greatest deceiver will arrive at such a time. We are told that years before Dajjal appears, there will be severe drought, rain will stop, crops will fail, food will become scarce. The first year, a third of rain will cease. The second year, 2/3 gone. By the third year, no rain at all. The earth will crack with dryness. Animals will die. Resources will deplete. People will wake up not knowing where the next meal will come from. Hunger will bite into the hearts of nations, and desperation will change people. When faith is weak and hunger is strong, what once seemed unthinkable becomes possible. A man might trade principles for a loaf of bread. A woman might surrender belief for a sip of water. When the stomach growls loudly, the voice of the heart grows faint. And at that moment, Dajjal will appear offering rivers, food, comfort, security. But every blessing he offers will come with a price, belief in him. He will exploit the global distress and present himself as a savior. He will say, "Come to me and I will give you what you lack," and many will go. Not because they were unaware of truth, but because they were unprepared to sacrifice for it. Faith is easy when life is easy. The real test is faith in famine, in hardship, in fear. When the world is collapsing, will we still say, "Allah is enough for me"? That is the test of Dajjal. The Prophet told us that the believers will gather in small groups, sustaining themselves not through abundance, but through tasbih. Their strength will come from Deen, not dunya. They will survive with hearts illuminated, even if their kitchens are empty. And those with strong Imaan will not be swayed, even if Dajjal offers them treasures of the earth. They will say, "I prefer hunger with Allah over fullness with falsehood." But such conviction is not built the day Dajjal arrives. It is built now, when we push ourselves to pray even if we are tired, to give charity even if we think we don't have enough, to lower our gaze even when temptation calls, to say no to sin even when it feels easy. Every small struggle today prepares us for the big struggle tomorrow. Global distress is not only physical, it is spiritual. There will be confusion everywhere. Scholars will be mocked, ignorance will spread, entertainment will dominate minds, and people will chase sensations over spiritual growth. Religion will be practiced culturally, not devotionally. Remembrance of Allah will become rare, Quran recited without understanding, and the heart will be empty while the world feels full. And when the heart is empty, anything can fill it, even falsehood. This is why the Prophet emphasized preparing the soul long before the test arrives. So let us reflect deeply. If the world around us becomes darker, will our inner light brighten or fade? If society normalizes sin, will we stand out as believers or blend in for comfort? If hardship strikes tomorrow, will we run to Allah or toward the first person who promises ease? The era of Dajjal is not merely a story of the future. It is a mirror for the present. It asks us what foundation our faith is built upon. If it rests on convenience, it will crumble. If it rests on conviction, it will withstand every storm. Because when the world is filled with chaos and hunger, when truth becomes strange and falsehood becomes glamorous, only those who trained their hearts in times of ease will remain firm in times of trial. Prepare for hardship now, so that when the storm arrives, your faith does not drown. In light of all these signs, all these warnings, all these vivid descriptions of Dajjal and the chaos that surrounds his arrival, the important question is not just who is Dajjal, but who will we be when he arrives? It is not enough to know about him. Many will know him, many will recognize him, but only a few will withstand him. Knowledge without faith is like a lamp without oil. It may look bright from the outside, but it cannot light the darkness. The true protection from the Fitnah of Dajjal lies in a heart firmly anchored to Imaan, a heart that remembers Allah when the world forgets him. This is why the Prophet taught us that the one shield believers must hold tightly to is strong faith supported by knowledge, worship, and a connection with the Quran. We are not told to prepare militarily for Dajjal. We are not asked to gather supplies or build shelters. We are told to build our Imaan. That is the real fortress, and Imaan is not built through theory alone, but through daily dedication, through sincere worship, through moments of sacrifice where we choose Allah over desires. When you pray Fajr, even though your bed is warm, you are building protection. When you lower your gaze from something haram, you are building protection. When you forgive someone even though your ego compels anger, you are strengthening the heart. When you choose halal income over easy haram wealth, you are preparing for that day when dunya will tempt you more intensely than ever before. One of the greatest tools of protection mentioned to us is the recitation and memorization of the first 10 verses of Surah Kahf. This is not a ritual for Fridays alone. This is a spiritual shield. The stories within Kahf revolve around trials similar to the trial of Dajjal. Trials of faith, trials of wealth, trials of knowledge, and trials of power. Every story teaches endurance, trust in Allah, and reliance on truth over illusion. When we recite these verses regularly with reflection, we are planting seeds of resilience that can withstand storms. And protection is also rooted in community. A believer alone is vulnerable. A believer surrounded by believers is strengthened. In the time of Dajjal, people will isolate, trust will erode, and fear will divide hearts. But the Prophet emphasized unity, congregational worship, collective remembrance, staying with the Jama'ah. The wolf attacks the lone sheep, not the flock. Today, if we find ourselves drifting from the masjid, from gatherings of knowledge, from environments that nurture faith, we must pull ourselves back. Surround yourself with those who remind you of Allah, who elevate you spiritually, who encourage you to strive for better. Because when the greatest trial arrives, companionship may be the difference between staying firm and being swept away. We must also train our hearts to detach from dunya so that its glitter does not blind us. It is not wrong to enjoy blessings. Islam does not ask us to abandon this world, but it teaches us to hold it lightly, not let it settle into the core of our hearts. If a person's happiness is tied to wealth, they will trade anything to keep it. If dignity is tied to status, they will compromise principles to maintain it. If comfort becomes priority, truth becomes negotiable. The believer's relationship with dunya is like a traveler resting under the shade of a tree, momentary, temporary, never a destination. The more we remember the Akhirah, the less this world will control us, and the harder it will be for Dajjal's offers to seduce us. Faith is not something we claim with our tongues, it is proven through tests. Small tests today prepare us for major tests tomorrow. When something is taken from you and you say, Alhamdulillah, you are building faith. When you experience hardship and still believe Allah is merciful, you are building faith. When you choose obedience over temptation, you are strengthening your spiritual muscles, and those muscles may one day save you. So let us not wait for the signs to appear before we prepare. Let us build our relationship with the Quran today, strengthen our salah today, purify our hearts today, deepen our trust in Allah today. Because when that time comes, only those whose Imaan is alive will survive the storm. And the one whose heart is filled with the light of faith will never be deceived by darkness. The one who walks with Allah in ease will run to him in hardship,